Okay, let's look at audience targeting for display ads. So it's important to target the right audience. Now, remember the goal of advertising, and this is true for traditional marketing and digital marketing, is to influence people to make a purchase. That's what we're trying to do, right? So we get paid to do. Yet there are many reasons why people might actually see ads, like display ads, but they decide not to make a purchase. They're never interested in the first place, or they want to buy something else, or for a myriad of reasons, right? Likewise, sometimes people actually see an ad and they do purchase something, but they would have purchased that particular product anyway. So these two things, whether they don't purchase or they're seeing ads where they would have purchased anyway, it highlights the importance for us as digital marketers to do ad targeting. So let's have a look at what that is. So ad targeting is showing the right ads to the right people at the right time and within the right context. So it's getting a lot of things right, which obviously can get a little bit tricky. So these are the people that are most likely to make a purchase because of the ad. Now, digital marketers, we're continually improving our ad targeting to improve its effectiveness. So let's have a look at some things that we can do, and then as we go through that, we can think about how we improve it. So targeting the right audience. So as a general rule, the better an advertiser can target their audience, the more they are willing to pay for advertising. So if you think of it from a perspective, from a marketing perspective, if you're paying for an ad to go into a newspaper, like a printed newspaper, it's going to get a big reach. It's going to go to a lot of people. But a great proportion of those people that see your ad aren't going to do anything about it. So it's not going to influence their consumer decision-making process. It's not actually going to make them or want to buy the product. So a very great percentage of what you're paying for isn't actually having the intended outcome that you want, all right? Whereas if you are using digital marketing and you can be selective and display the ad to fewer people, but a greater percentage or proportion of those people actually going to do something with it, then it's going to be more valuable for your business, right? So display networks are then, such as like Google and Facebook and YouTube, all those things, they're actually incentivized to provide highly accurate targeting. So the better tools that they give to us as marketers, the better we can get in our targeting, which means the more money that we can make, which means the more we're prepared to pay for those ads. So we're incentivized to do better targeting, and Google display networks are incentivized to give us those targeting tools, because together we can we're both better off. So targeting the right audience. So digital marketers can target the audience. So when we make a display ad and we go through, so I'm using Google a lot as an example here because that's by far the most popular one. So when you log into your Google for Business account, you create an ad and you go through, you can see here on this one I'm selecting keywords, and now we can select the audience. So for audience targeting, it can be based on demographic, and you can't choose exact ages, but it's broken down into groups, so like the ages of 18 to 24. Also gender, which is like male, female, or other. Parental status, whether they have children or not. So that's the demographic variables. Now interests and hobbies. Now this is quite good. So remember in Principles of Marketing when we talked about segmentation, segmenting markets, we've got the four main types: demographic variables, we talked about geographic variables, and we talked about psychographic variables and behavioural variables. Now interests and hobbies often relate to those psychographic variables, so what they are interested in, their values, attitudes and lifestyles. Now Google works this out through a rather complex way, but we as digital marketers don't have to worry about that. The display networks work that out. So they go, well, what are their interests and hobbies? So I'm going to go, I want to display my ads to people that are interested in video games. So Google's going to go, well, these types of people recently have been on looking at video game websites, they're in video game groups and stuff like that. They like video game pages. So all these types of things. So in this way, they get like what they call affinity audiences. custom affinity audiences, and in-market audiences. Now, affinity audience are generated by Google, and they just have the standard interest groups, right? But we can actually customize those as well. I think I've got that on the next page. I do here. So these ones here, so like Core Power, Pilates, Spin Class, these are all the ones that are generated by Google, but then we can also customize it by putting all these other URLs and things to avoid and stuff in there. So we can customize these a little bit to our own extent. All right, so that was the affinity audiences, customizing affinity audiences, and in-market audiences. So let's look at then the digital marketers can also target based on live events. This is such as your browser history or live events such as getting married. So I've grabbed this from Facebook because Facebook is also a display, like you go on Facebook, they also have display ads, which is separate to Google, right? So, but Facebook's a classic one. Like if you go on there, put on your Facebook status that or change it that you've got married, well then obviously if you're selling things such as honeymoon packages, although you probably buy that beforehand, but certain things that would happen, like that's a key lifestyle, a key event in our life cycle, right? And as we know, when we study consumer behavior, these have large impacts on consumer decision-making processes. So we go, well, if we know when these events are happening, it's going to help us to target those people. And Google, so this is Facebook, but Google could do the same based on your search history and what websites you're viewing and stuff like that. So these are based on browser history and events such as getting married. And these, the browser history is the cookies. Remember we talked about cookies at our web, so if we go into Google Chrome on there, our web browsers, they store cookies, and then Google has access to that and uses that data to work out, make broad profiles of these customers. Now we're going to look at retargeting. So, and these are users who have visited our website, and when they visit the website, because of the cookies through the web browser, then once they leave the website, as digital marketers, we can use retargeting to send display ads specifically to those people. All right, we'll look at that. We'll look at, I'm going to go back a slide here. We're going to look at retargeting a little bit more as we go along. Right, so mobile display ads. So digital marketers often experience poor performance of display ads on mobile devices, like your mobile phone. Some apps deliberately maximize this fat finger effect, where you click on ads. I'm not sure if you've got big hands, so sometimes you're scrolling through and you click on an ad, you're like, oh no, that's annoying. And so the first thing you do is you go click the back button and you get out of the ad, right? So there's an immediate bounce rate on there. So what some apps do is they deliberately put the ads, so where you click on the ads right near where you scroll, or the key areas, that they do an analysis of where people click the most on the phone, and that's where they put the buttons to click. And they do that because they go, well, if digital marketers like us are paying per click, then they want to maximize the number of clicks that people do. And with mobile phone, there's a much higher rate of accidental clicks going on ads than they are on computer screens, which makes sense, right? So as such, some display ads have a bounce rate of 90% or higher. So be wary of that if you are in digital marketing and you're paying for mobile. It's getting so much better with high resolution screens and bigger phones and stuff like that. But just be aware of that. And you might find that that's not the case for you because the website or the application that you're using might be friendly to digital marketers like us and specifically designed in a way that maximizes the benefit for both marketers and consumers, and then they avoid that type of thing. But it's something to be aware of. All right, now we want to look at ad design and optimization. Ad optimization. So let's look at banner ads. So this is research that's been published in the Journal of Marketing Communications. I want to put that in there. I thought it was quite interesting, this research. So impact for display ads is measured in this research, and we're just going to be a little bit careful because we talk about effectiveness. In this research, he's talking about the click-through rate, or CTR, right? But usually when I'm talking about effectiveness, I talk about the overall effectiveness of it. So impact. So we talk about the impact that ads have. So as digital marketers, when we make ads, we want to know what impact our marketing efforts are having on our business performance. So this research went out to do that, and they had two metrics. Involvement is the number of clicks on the ads, so like the CTC, the click through, was it CTC, click through, oh shit, I've gone blank now, but basically the people clicking on the ads. And then effectiveness is the click through rate, which is the number of people that see the ad, so the impressions, as a proportion of and of those people, how many of those people are actually clicking on the ads themselves. So the research by Naaman, Hamilton and Rome, they found that the banner type influences the involvement, so the number of clicks on the ad, and effectiveness. Now the banner type is static ads and dynamic ads. So it turns out dynamic ads are actually more effective. They have a bigger impact based on so more people are clicking on the ads, and more people are actually purchasing, like doing things with that as well. So effective. So banner size, however, increases involvement. So that's the number of clicks on the ad, but not the actual effectiveness of the ad. So out of these two things, so with the banner size, that includes how big it is, but also the proportion. So they use this thing as the golden ratio. You read this journal article if you're interested. I don't have time to go through it whole right now, but basically square, long, what sizes perform better. This is one set of research. I thought it was really fascinating. It gives us an idea, an indication. You wouldn't rush out there based on this. It needs to be, checked off with more research, but it gives us an idea of what's going on. Right, so banner ad design. So effective display ads should do three things. First of all, they should attract attention. They should communicate a clear value proposition, and they should invite action. So I'm going to look at some ads now. This one, so these are taken, I think I'll grab these off the Examiner or the Mercury, I can't remember which, but this is one ad. Now this is a dynamic ad, and basically it has a person, pictures of people scrolling through. So I took a screenshot here, that was one person, and then there was another person, there was several people, and then ended up with this Bank of Us. So think of it, does this attract attention? Now it was kind of attention, I can't show you this ad live because the display ads are dynamic, right? So if I go back to this website, I'm not going to have this ad, but I wanted to have an example that I could explain. It did attract attention, but what is the value proposition and where is the invite to action? So on this Bank of Us ad, think about that, doing well for attention, but the value proposition isn't really there, unless what they're thinking is that they just wanted to increase their exposure, but still I think they could work on their value proposition. And the call to action is, what's that? It's not there. It's implied that you click on it to find out more information, but it's not a clear invitation to action. The Spirit of Tasmania, this attracts attention. This was also dynamic. I think it was alternating between these two ads, or there's several, like these two images. But it has a clear value proposition. Night sales from $130. You can't get more clear than that. And it has a clear call to action. Book now. So technically, this ad is better designed than this ad from what we see from the consumer side of things. I'm going to go show another one now. Now this is an example which is provided by Stuart, which is the publisher of the textbook. So we've got we just talked about designing ads. Now we look at optimizing them. So we've got two things here. So we've got ad A, which is this one here. So impressions, 20,000 people view it. So that's 20K. Of those, so once 20,000 people have seen it, 160 people actually clicked on the ad. So that's a CTR of 0.8. So 160 divided by 20,000 is 0.8%. And of those clicks, 4 people converted. And we're going to, a conversion could either be buying this software or actually filling out the details and subscribing to it, right? So we're not told what the conversion rate is, whether it's actually purchase or the actual demo itself, but it doesn't really matter, right? So the effectiveness is a conversion rate of 2.5. Ad B had 20,000 impressions. Of that, it had more clicks, 185, so it had a higher click-through rate, 185 out of 220,000. So the CTR is 0.9%, so it's a small increase. Had 5 conversions, so extra conversions, so the conversion rate was also higher. So the only difference between these two ads is this has a grey one and this has a green one. Now the research, I can't remember if I've gone through it in this lecture series, in this unit, but I have explained in other lectures how the design of these elements impacts consumer behaviour, and typically green buttons are better to click on, right? And I can understand why they do this test, because normally I'd go, well, obviously ad B is going to perform better than ad A because it's green, and the research shows that green buttons get better click-through rates. However, they've got a lot of green in their design. So the actual product box is green and the banner at the top is green. So the research also shows that the call to action needs to be clear and pop out. So while this is green and the green itself would increase click-through rates, it doesn't pop out as much as this one because it's grey. So I find it quite interesting that although this one pops out better, well, I'll let you go. It's got the shadow and stuff in there. This one is green, so it's really a contrast to. We know that pop out increases click-through rates, and we know green improves click-through rates. But in this situation, when they contrast with each other, which one's going to perform better? I'd be interested to see if they used a blue one, because blue can also pop out and might increase it. So that's what we talk about with optimization, and it's not big changes. We're really just seeing, what makes it better. Right, so even minor changes to ads have a different on effectiveness, the effectiveness of those ads. Once the ad gets to the threshold number of impressions, so I'm going to go back a slide here. For this one it was 20,000, and for that one's 20,000. So it's not much point going, well, this one has 10,000, 20,000, that one has 10,000, and therefore that one performed better, because you need to use the same threshold for impressions, right? So once it gets to the threshold, the ads can then be compared. You got to also use the similar context. When we did the A/B testing, it was randomized into, when a user comes to a page, randomized between seeing A and B. This is sort of similar, or you could do, so you could do the randomized A/B testing, or you could do run one and then the other one. The problem with doing it this way, run one and the other one, it might take longer to get that 20,000, and it'll be at different times. So you have these temporal factors that also influence that. So it's harder to separate control for those exogenous variables. Alright, so something as small as the color of the text can improve click-through rate. Right, so we're going to leave it there. Optimization is kind of cool. We've taught you at this stage how the analytics work, digital analytics works, and it's really relying on that to improve your optimization. Alright, we'll stop it here and then we'll look at retargeting.